Everyone, and welcome to the April 24th, 2025 executive session of the Clarksville City Council. The first item on our agenda, as usual, is the Planning Commission report. Mr. Tyndall, please, sir.
All right. Good evening, City Council. We have a couple cases out of the Planning Commission this month. Oops. It's either batteries or you got to click on. I thought so.
You got to hold your mouth just right.
Order batteries. Put batteries on a shopping list.
While we're changing batteries, Lee Harpel is stepping in and serving as our substitute clerk today. Ms. Canfield is away at a TAMCAR conference, Tennessee Association of Municipal Clerks and Recorders conference, got it. And our deputy clerk is out on medical leave. So Lee, thank you very much.
All right, we'll just go old school until we figure this out here. So next slide. Our application tonight, first one, Planning Commission case Z8 2025, application of Infinity Investments LLC. This one was remanded back from the council 2 months ago to request a different zone. It originally came in as R6 with disapproval from the staff and the Planning Commission, and the council sent them back, and now they were requesting R2A, single family residential, currently zoned R1, single family residential. Next slide. The parcel is located at the southeast corner of Hillsborough Road and Binks Drive. It's a residential lot where a single family home was, and it was recently demolished. There's also an attached garage that remains on site. This is in Council Ward number 4. Next slide, thanks. Here you can see the zoning in the area. And next slide. So this is a map. It's not going to exactly be the same color next month. We're working on the colors. This is the future land use map. This was requested from the Planning Commission to be in the slide decks going forward, and I think it's beneficial. So when I say this is in a suburban neighborhood, this is in a urban neighborhood, this is a corridor commercial neighborhood, this gives you the idea. So this isn't a zone. Each of these colors is a mix of zones, but when you go through the comprehensive planning, you read about what a suburban neighborhood is. You can see here in the dark purple in this map, that is a suburban neighborhood designation. Department comments and concerns. Sidewalk would be required per the zoning ordinance, and driveway spacing and placement will comply with the city access ordinance. And you can see the school system comments. We've now condensed the bigger comment about the capacities into, you'll get a percentage and a number of portables in use in the section there. And then if there's any additional comments from the school system, we'll include them outside the normal capacities. Lee, you can flip through the rest of the pictures and then land on the slide. Historic estimates for this zoning classification would put it at 4 units. This is in the Lafayette Peters Mill planning area, and it is in the suburban neighborhood future land use designation. Staff's recommendation is disapproval. The request is not consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted comprehensive plan. The proposal is internal to an established R1 single-family subdivision. Increases in residential density are most appropriate along the outer edges of existing neighborhoods and as a transition or buffer from a more intense use. Residential zone changes internal to a subdivision should be more gradual by nature. The proposed zone change from R1 to R2A would reduce the minimum lot size from 15,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet, and the lot width from 90 feet to, that shouldn't say 30 feet, that should say 40 feet. This would not be consistent with the overall development pattern internal to the subdivision. No adverse environmental issues were identified with this property. The Planning Commission also recommends disapproval.
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tyndall, one of the applicant spoke at the Regional Planning Commission meeting regarding consistency and a vote that was taken recently regarding another piece of property on Peachers Mill Road. I thought it might be best, just in case that were to be mentioned again next week while you're here. Can you kind of address that, if you don't mind, and the difference between properties along Peachers Mill versus this one that's further into the neighborhood?
Sure. I'm sure you'll hear about that next Thursday. And on this map, it's down in the bottom right corner, right next to where the key is. I think about 2 or 3 months ago, you had an application from the R4 to the R6. It wasn't recommended from the planning staff. It did receive planning commission and city council approval on first reading. They pulled it because they actually got a buyer for the R4 before they actually changed the zone. So they never went through second reading. But the applicant's statement was, just a quarter mile away, the way the crow flies, you approved it, but not on this site. And I go back to the statement we had there when you talk about the suburban neighborhood designation, which a lot of these core older neighborhoods of Clarksville are. We would encourage that density be gradual from the edges in and not a big change in the middle. If the applicant was, say, asking for a zone that allowed them to split this one lot into maybe two, because it is a fairly larger lot according to today's standards, we may be more agreeable to that. But again, I think the historical estimate is 3 or 4 lots for this lot. And just because you're near where something else got rezoned, we've got parcels that are commercial on the back and residential on the other side. It doesn't mean we should put residential into a neighborhood either, just because the property that touches you or behind you is on maybe a state highway. So staff goes through a lot of looking at these during the month, and a lot of study. And when you're off a road several blocks like this is, it really depends what the road is and what the neighborhood's looking like. And we also look at the comprehensive plan.
Councilman McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tyndall, under the requested zoning classification of R2A, would this parcel, since it's on a corner, have multiple entrances to it for potential structures? Meaning, would access be allowed from Binks Drive and Hillsborough Road?
According to the access ordinance, you're supposed to go to the lesser road, and in this case, Binks would be the lesser road. So the majority of the driveways would be there. If they wanted to access Hillsborough, they could likely go to the Access Appeals Board for one driveway, but each home should only have one driveway out there.
Okay, there is a driveway on Hillsborough Road from the previous home, so.
I would defer to the street department on their
Okay.
interpretation. They may get to keep that, but when you subdivide properties, sometimes we'll enforce the rules upon subdivision.
Thank you.
Any other comment or question? Seeing none, we're now ready for item B, ordinance 79, 2024-25. Mr. Tyndall, please, sir.
Okay, next slide. Oh, we're back one. Good deal.
All right.
All right, this is Planning Commission Case Z18, 2025, application of James Page, 1.4 acres, currently zoned R1 and requesting to go to C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District. It is an extension of the C5 to the east. The property is on Dover Road, approximately 200 feet east of Dover Road and Walker Circle intersection in Council Ward number 4. The applicant's statement is to provide an extension of C5 zoning for commercial development. And here's the zoning map. Commercial properties are in blue, C2 in the light blue, C5 in the darker blue, R1 in the yellow around it. And with the future land use map, this portion is in what we would call a mixed residential neighborhood, which encourages small lot single family to multifamily, and some community serving commercial is also appropriate. And I'll go to the staff report here in a second. It's these two houses in question with the sign in front of them. Looking back towards downtown. And looking back the other direction. And just a little further back, you can see the sign on the right, 2 driveways up. and again, looking back toward Dover. Department comments and concerns. A traffic assessment was submitted and accepted and approved by the street department. CDE had no objection to the rezoning. They wanted to make a note that existing overhead electrical utilities will need to be relocated, or an easement will need to be included prior to any site plan approval. You can see the school system comments listed, but C5 does not allow for residential development. This is in the Woodlawn Dotsonville planning area. Again, it's a mixed residential neighborhood. Staff does recommend approval. The request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. The adopted land use opinion map identifies these parcels as mixed residential neighborhood, and mixed residential neighborhood indicates that neighborhoods serving commercial businesses, small restaurants, and services are appropriate on major roads. No adverse environmental issues are identified with this request, and the Planning Commission also recommended approval.
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Any comment or question regarding ordinance 79? Councilman Chandler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll go ahead and get this out of my system tonight instead of next Thursday night. Do we have any idea of what this gentleman's wanting to put on this? Because it's an extension next to another C5. So does he own the C5 that's already there? And he's wanting to add this to it?
He does not, and he spoke at the Planning Commission, and when asked that question, I believe he said he is tired of having the two homes there, the rental properties, and they're causing trouble, and he just wants to zone it commercial and be done with that. I believe that was very close to paraphrasing what he said.
Okay, well, I just got a few quick statements real quick. Yeah, when you look up C5, take advantage, the arterial roads take advantage of high traffic volume. And then you turn around, you look again, they're typically found along busy thoroughfares or intersections where a large volume of traffic passes through. This is in my backyard. I drive this every single day. The problem is there's no traffic signals between Liberty Church Road and Dover Crossing. None at all. And this is to assume that we're looking at everybody doing 45. Now, come on. I wasn't born yesterday. If you look at, on the traffic assessment on page 8, if I'm reading this correctly, of course, like I've said before, I'm not stupid, but sometimes I do get things wrong. Let me find it again real quick. 2024 traffic count was 19,926 cars. Is that daily?
Yes.
Okay, and then look at 2016. In 8 years, it's more than double. And that is because a lot of the development is being done out Dover Road in the county, which I'm glad to see it growing in that area. But you know, there's a list of things that can be put there, and the traffic study was done in the PM. Nothing about AM. Well, PM traffic is people going home from work. They had to have gone that morning to get to work. So unless somebody wants to come in here and tell me, okay, well, another thing too is coming out where the bar there, across from High Point Road, I come in, when I go home, I go out Dover Road, turn left on the High Point Road. There's many times I have to stop and sit in the left-hand lane because everybody that's coming out of that subdivision gets in the turning lane to use it as a runway. If we put a traffic signal there, I'd be sitting there going thumbs up. But you're talking about a straight stretch of 45 miles an hour, and the people that don't know, I'm a certified traffic accident reconstructionist. And at 45 miles an hour, you're talking well over 60 feet per second. And if somebody's doing 60 miles an hour, they're almost at 80 feet per second. We're talking about, we don't know, it could be a gas station, it could be a truck stop. We just don't know. Until, to be honest with you about it, until we get some improvements on Dover Road, and as the traffic signal that I'm referring to, then I just don't see, you're talking about running from, again, out in the county to down into Dover, crossing Dover Road. Just, there's nothing to stop the traffic. There's nothing to slow that volume down. That's it, I'm done. Thank you.
Councilman McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to add on to what the previous speaker mentioned about Dover Road, if you look on the map, and if there was a bigger map of Dover Road, there's a lot of C5 commercial undeveloped along that roadway already. If you go all the way down to about Dotsonville Road, there are several C5 and C2 parcels that haven't been developed yet. So something to take into consideration, creating more without really a use for the existing ones is something to think about.
Other comment or question regarding ordinance 79? Now ready for item C, ordinance 80, 2024-25. Mr. Tindall, please, sir.
All right. This is Planning Commission Case Z20, 2025, application of William Ballou. And this is in total, and what you're looking at here is 4 little pieces of a large parcel. This is all one parcel, but it's up in the top left. You'll see it. There's C1 to C5, and in the middle there you have a little sliver of R4, or I think that one's actually R2 to C5. The bigger polygon in the middle is R4 to C5, and then on the right is also R4 to C5. So totally, this is a loss of about 1.5 acres of R1, a smidgen of R2, and a bit of R4, in total 18.4 acres going from those uses to C5 exclusively. And I hope this map should help make that clear. The underlying color is the previous zone, and then you can see the hatched dark blue where the applicant is requesting C5. It is an extension of the C5, obviously, to the north. This is on Tiny Town Road, and it's a large tract with rolling hills that is being prepared for development. This is in Council Ward number 8. The applicant's statement is to extend the commercial zoning for proposed businesses. I'm not going to go through it all, but since 1999 through 2008, this has had many zoning changes. Some of them like this: correct this, add that, move this, move that. Currently, the C5 acreage is 72 acres, and they're adding to 18 for a total of 90 acres. Again, here's our future land use map. You see it does cross the land use areas a little bit. We don't mind that. Again, they're advisory, especially on a large parcel like this. We took a general distance off the Tiny Town Road, sometimes like an interstate. And as you can see here, what they're trying to do and the property to the north is a good example, square this up so that they have a more uniform depth for larger big box retailing. I do not know what's going to come here, but if it were a large national retailer that sells a bunch of stuff that has a 100,000 square foot building, they are going to want to be so far off the road and have the parking lot and maybe other uses in front of it. They're not typically going to be right on the front of the road. So this provides that depth to allow them to market the eastern portion of the property for that. What you don't see, and I can definitely get it to you if you all want to see it, we do have a road network that has been approved by the Planning Commission. You'll see a little gap in the middle on the right and a little gap on the left there. There are main roads that will be coming off Tiny Town Road, and they go east and west as well, internal to the property and connect to the subdivision at large in the back there. In the future, there will be a signal on Tiny Town Road, and there will be a main road of 3 to 5 lanes that will go north and south between the property to the north and the property to the south. This will be one of the last main commercial areas that could be developed in the community. A lot of traffic counts here, very near the interstate, has a lot of desirability. It is being shopped by the IDB. They do have it in their packet of available commercial properties for people who are looking at our community. This is approximately where that road would be cut in, looking off Tiny Town Road back into the property. Autumnwood Farms has been developed since 2012, and it's just slowly been creeping to the north little by little. And it's mostly pictures of a field. And then looking back, Tiny Town to the west. And to the east, property is on your right. All right, department comments. The street department did receive a traffic assessment for Autumnwood Farms and the remainder here. It was reviewed and accepted. The revised preliminary plat comment on this, Horse Cave Drive needs to avoid a sinkhole and coordinate with access to the north. So we'll adjust that when they come back in for their development phase. Department comments or concerns from other departments, there are none. Again, you have the school system capacity comments, but this will be exclusively commercial development. Proposed impact would be 18 acres of C5 commercial opportunity increased and a reduction of R4 multifamily and elimination of the C1 parcel to the west. This is in the North Clarksville planning area. The future land use map indicates this is mixed use. Staff does recommend approval. The request is consistent with the overall goals of the adopted comprehensive plan. This request and overall tract aligns with the future land use map designation of mixed use. The designation is found along major corridors and in locations where sufficient urban services can be provided, such as the Tiny Town Road corridor. The request is presented to fine-tune the zoning designations to align with future commercial uses and the roadway network. No adverse environmental issues were identified at this time, and the Planning Commission also recommends approval.
Councilman Haywood, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So first I want to say that I've talked to a lot of the constituents in my area. They are for going from residential to commercial. It'll cut down the density in that area. But I read through the 643-page traffic impact study, and I had a few issues with it maybe. So I guess my first question would be the street department, when they say it was received, reviewed, and accepted, what are the limiting factors of saying we accept it?
I'm going to have to defer to the street department to answer these questions.
Yeah, let's invite Mr. Smith up, and you can ask him your questions,
Okay.
Councilman. Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
Sorry. Mr. Smith, how you doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. So my question is, the street department said that it reviewed and accepted the traffic impact study.
Yes.
What are the limiting factors of what would make you say, yes, we accept, or no, we decline?
First and foremost, they verify the roadway, the level of service of the roadway existing, and after the fact, they take different factors out of the traffic volume guidelines that we have and say this kind of proposed development generates this many trips per day, peak hour trips per day, and total traffic. I think the total site had somewhere in excess of 40,000 new trips per day, but there's some internal circulation so that there's a qualifier for that reduces that. So basically, we're checking the math. This is along Tiny Town, so this isn't just us alone that's verifying this. TDOT verified this as well. We had a lot of meetings with the developer, with the design firm, TDOT as well, and the Planning Commission. So there's a lot of folks at that table to vet this information.
Okay, and you said TDOT gets it, right?
TDOT got it and verified as well, yes, sir.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I had for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Tyndall, so for that, then I see that like between Tiny Town, there's like 28,000 vehicles per AADT vehicles per day, and it looks like they only did 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. So obviously those are peak times. I get that, but significantly more probably have gone through the day. And I was going through the future build, and right now they label A, B, C, D, E, F. I'm sure you're aware of that. Right now we're in D's, E's and D's everywhere. Tiny Town need more. Tiny Town, Trenton, the access roads that they're wanting to put in. And what concerned me the most is it gave you a now and then a build. And the build, everything got worse. Obviously it did. But my question is, so TDOT got this. Are they, since it's a state road, are they going to say, before this gets put in, we're going to bust tail and put a traffic signal in? Or are they going to go, it's got to get put in, and then the entire development gets done, and then 6 years later, there's no signal?
I'm not looking at the copy and I didn't bring the 600-page traffic
I
report
don't
with
blame
me.
you.
But I assume those are the peak hour
Yep.
degradation in services from maybe a C to a D or D to an E out there. So the applicants sometimes will have to do some development improvements. With this one, again, we have a subdivision that at some point, when it reaches a level of development that the street department determines, okay, it's too much out here, the signal will be installed by the applicant.
Okay. So that's an option for them to go ahead and say, hey, this is,
We go with developer-driven remedies as much as possible. Now, as far as the larger growth of the background traffic, we call it, so that's like what Mr. Chandler was saying, when you go look at 2016 and then 2024,
Yeah.
and it increases 1,000 cars, that's background traffic. That's everything in the area that has made it increase, and that can sometimes make it, make a intersection degrade in service. What we're looking for is, can we point to this development and the one to the north, and we've been working with both these developers over the years as they've come in with different sections of their development and different rezoning plans to, and you can see the R4 to the north. You weren't on council at the time, but that's going to have a 3-lane road serving the R4 straight down. That's kind of, if you followed that line between the R2 and the R4 straight down, that's where that road is approximately going to go. Between these two parcels and act as what we call a spine road, so a main new collector, and then distribute out to the local as you get maybe a half mile into the property as a whole.
and I
I
know,
hope that helped answer some of that. But.
you did, thank you. And I know that you said that it was the feeder, you said feeder road or a background road. I know Trenton Road and Needmore Road, looking at the traffic impact study, those are probably the roads that you're talking about. They're going around and going, hey, we got to figure out, I'm not going to sit on traffic for Trenton. Is this something that we could send to the state and say, hey, I know this is supposed to start in 2029, but can we speed it up for this development?
Well, I don't think this is going to be a development. I don't think the signal is going to be put in by TDOT. This is going to be, and I think, and I'll ask,
Well, not
I'll ask
necessarily
David just to
the-
chime in here, but I think this is one, as soon as the street department or the developer determines, like, we need the signal, it's ready to be installed, kind of like we did with Pea Ridge Road down there. The state's not going to get in our way. It does meet the distance. It does have enough warrant for a signal due to the development out there, but it's just not the time yet for it, because
Yeah.
there's nothing actually out there yet on either side of the road. They may be doing a little bit of a standoff with each other of who goes first, who's
Yeah.
going to have to do it, and we may have a development district opportunity here where future users could all pay in for that signal, because that's not going to be a cheap signal
Yeah.
on a 5 and 7 lane road out there.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
All right.
With all due respect to our friends at TDOT, they measure time in decades.
Yep.
Councilman Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I am reminded every day that my memory is not what it used to be. But was there talk maybe last year sometime about maybe putting a park back here?
We've been in discussions with the developer and the city Parks and Rec Department about the future subdivision of the R2 and the R4 property. Nothing is solidified yet. Those discussions have started and have been happening.
Okay, so I guess my question is, in your opinion as a planner, would this rezoning affect the ability to put a park back there? or
It's not
access
in
for
the area that we were looking.
All right, thank you.
Councilman McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few questions. And to tag on to what the previous speaker said, this is the original site of the soccer complex from a decade ago. I think this property's changed hands maybe 3 or 4 times since then. I didn't know Mr. Blue is a current owner, but there are significant sinkhole features on this property. And I wanted to ask, probably Mr. Smith, if the whole frontage is developed out to C5 with mostly parking lots and buildings, how's that going to affect the water as it drains to those sinkholes and then also to the adjacent homes that are there? Welcome aboard.
All right, so like much of our karst regions, they will have to develop water quality plans, and that will be inherent, not in the zoning, but in subsequent site plan submittals. They'll have to show adequate detention, retention at this site. Those features are all receiving water from that site already.
Do you know if they have done any new engineering about what potential impact could be if the ground on the frontage is is now paved and built out as far
I'm not
as-
aware of any additional studies on impermeable through there, no.
Okay. And then back to the signalized intersection, I'm glad that Mr. Tyndall mentioned the Pea Ridge situation. Do you anticipate that like you all arranged with the Pea Ridge and Fort Campbell or 101st Airborne, you got all of the property owners on board for a plan so everybody knew what their piece of the puzzle was, so that one wouldn't be triggered when the first development happened, that everybody was in partnership. Is that something that has been solidified with, was it JNN across the street and Mr. Baloo?
Well, sure. This council recently voted on a shared contribution plan with both the city and the development. So there's provisions for all of that in this. And of course, everything that we've seen is preliminary. Nothing is on print or stamped at this point. But in this intersection that we're going to see in this traffic signal, we are going to require the street department that across the street, the development align instead of some of these offsets that we see across Tiny Town Road, where it's very difficult to signalize. It's difficult to ingress and egress because of traffic coming from the opposite side of the road. We'll be able to make sure that this is aligned properly.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilman Haywood, you're recognized.
Sorry. I think this question goes to Mr. Smith as well. So drainage comments said no concerns listed. Is that something that you guys look at as in just overall right now, looking at the land, I don't see it, or if
Apologies.
this were to go on?
Can you ask that from scratch? I'm sorry. I was kind of walking up.
Sorry.
Yeah,
So,
Jeff was tagging me in.
On here it says drainage comments, department responded, no concerns listed. Is that something for no concerns? Is that something that you guys look at sitting at the property now? It's all good, or if this were to be developed, this is how many basins you'll need?
Sure. It's impossible at this point to know, as Councilman Coughlin noted, this is just a zoning. They haven't shown us the footprint of a building or parking lots. Obviously, if this entire site became asphalt, that'd be a huge concern for us. But without knowing what their next steps are, without them committing to that, we can't commit them to any, or otherwise ourselves, to any kind of water quality direct.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
And let me just add to that, the only development we've seen on either side of the road, and even the north, we don't even have a preliminary road plan yet. We do have a preliminary road plan approved by the Planning Commission for the south portion, and everything from that green ag parcel through the Life Point Church that's getting built right now. In front of Life Point, you have a road called Calumet Way. We're going to continue Calumet Way paralleling Tiny Town Road for the length of this parcel, and it will connect over to, I believe it's Tower Drive. Yes, Tower Drive to the left. So that will provide a lot of relief to anyone who wants to traverse between either the commercial uses, the multifamily, or the single family. You'll be able to use this other road that's going to go east and west and not have to go on Tiny Town Road. That could take potentially 1,000 cars a day off of it, rather than going out one driveway back, and kind of like Wilma Rudolph. You know, Wilma Rudolph with the side that has Ted Crozier Boulevard, you at least have that way to get around. On the other side, you don't have that rear road to kind of traverse. We've also limited the total amount of driveways on the larger blue portion in the middle there to, I want to say it was 4. So it's 3 main roads, 4 additional driveways for a total of, I think, 7 total curb cuts in that almost half a mile. That's a significant drawback from what they could have if they had subdivided it many years ago. So I know they wanted more. We agreed on that number. There's going to be a lot of shared driveways between the parcels, or they're going to use that Calumet Drive to the rear to use that. So we're really trying to get the cars through here efficiently as it grows and develops out. But to date, we've not seen a site plan. We don't know what the future users are. They're marketing it, and as Mr. Smith said, as each one comes in, they will evaluate it to make sure that it's not draining any additional capacity faster than it currently is. It's detaining or retaining as much as it needs to according to the regulations.
Okay, thank you. Any more comment or question regarding this ordinance? We're now ready for item D, ordinance 81, 2024-25. Mr. Tyndall, please, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a text amendment that was started, I believe, last month by City Council. It was text given to us by the legal department in an effort to look at, can you fine someone in city court for violating the zoning ordinance? In working with Eric and Neil there, they determined no, it's probably needs to be put that language in there. So as you can see on this section in the underline, the 2 lines above that, 11.9 violations where it says it shall be, that's already in the zoning ordinance. And right now, we can enforce it by means of pecuniary penalties or an injunction. What it does is add the code about a code officer or law enforcement officer is hereby empowered to issue citations to any person for violation of any of the provisions of the zoning ordinance. Citations issued for violations of any of the provisions of the zoning ordinance shall be tried in the Clarksville Municipal Court. Each violation shall be subject to civil fines up to $50, in addition to any other remedies or penalties provided by the law or court order. Each day a violation continues or occurs shall be deemed a separate offense. And all this is doing is adding that paragraph to the zoning ordinance of the city, and the Planning Commission and staff recommend approval.
Any comment or question regarding this ordinance? Councilman McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to add that this has been vetted by Chief Burdine, and also Mr. Tyndall, and I was part of this. So the addition of law enforcement officer, the language all meets Chief of Police's standards on this. I knew someone was going to ask, so I just.
Any more comment or question? Councilman Holloman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So it's $50 per day for violations. So like, say if I have a neighbor that like they don't mow their yard, or they're sick and they can't mow their yard for a week, but they're in violation. So that would be like $750 fines. Is that correct?
So currently, care of premise, which is what you're talking about, is already on the books. So this is for other type of violations that are specific to the zoning. Zoning has nothing, we don't say anything about your grass height. That's in a care of premise ordinance, a completely separate ordinance in the city code.
Yeah.
Here we're talking about potentially, like downtown painting a building without permission, putting up a sign without, getting approval, changing the use of your structure without getting approval for that, reducing your parking spaces, things that aren't covered in other portions of the code.
Okay.
But yes, it's up to the city court, and Ernie Griffin, and we've all been working with him as well as Judge Smith. And sometimes the judge will have discretion over, is that a per day fine, or maybe I'm just going to give you one fine, and it's up to his discretion to work with each individual case as it comes up.
Okay. I was just making sure, just like, so we wouldn't go up to a resident and be like, you know, your shed's too close to the property line, and you know, then the fines rack up, and just. But thank you for answering my question.
Any more comment or question regarding ordinance 81? Now ready for item E, resolution 54. Mr. Tyndall, please, sir.
And just to be clear, that previous one does require a public hearing, and this one does as well. Resolution 54, 2425 is a plan of service progress report for an annexation that occurred last year. It's on the Lafayette Road, Highway 374, Garrettsburg Road. It's the Mosaic Church and two other parcels south of it. To date, all items have been satisfied in the original plan of service with the exception of CDE. Electric and broadband, they're in the works right now, and they should have that completed before your next progress report in May of 2026. What a progress report is for the new council members is when you annex territory, the city and the applicant have certain things they have to do to finish being annexed. They're already annexed. They can already they're already getting services from the city, and they can already take advantage of the zoning and other laws. However, the city has to extend water and sewer and other utilities. Water was already out there. That's always easy in this city since gas and water serves the majority around the city. But CDE has to work with CEMC on transferring the electric and broadband load. Luckily, only one of these parcels has a structure on it. It's a lot easier when they're vacant parcels. So this is an opportunity for the person who requested annexation. If the city's, for instance, not coming through on their end of the bargain, they can come here and ask during the public hearing to stop the annexation and then go through the process of reversing that because the city didn't, and we're not saying you are, but if you weren't following through on a promise that was made. So it's a state required service that we do every annexation, and when it's done, you'll get a final progress report.
Comment or question regarding this resolution? Mr. Tyndall?
That's it.
That's it. All right, we're now ready for the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please read the consent agenda.
All items in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the council may request that an item be removed for separate consideration under the appropriate committee report. Ordinance 54, 2024-25, second reading. An ordinance to amend the official code of the City of Clarksville, Title I, Administration, Officers and Personnel, Chapter 9, City Court, Section 1909, reserved to create a section relative to municipal court expunctions and fees. Ordinance 62, 2024-25, second reading. An ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to conduct negotiations and to enter an agreement for purchase of a right-of-way and easements, or should negotiations fail, to pursue condemnation through use of eminent domain for the acquisition of property for a public purpose for the City of Clarksville Needmore Road Improvement Project. Ordinance 63, 2024-25, second reading. An ordinance authorizing the City of Clarksville to convey real property contained within the public safety complex at Outlaw Field to Montgomery County, Tennessee for construction of an emergency medical service station. Ordinance 64, 2024-25, second reading. An ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement and acquire property for a public purpose for roadway improvements and to swap and convey City of Clarksville property in exchange therefor. Ordinance 72, 2024-25, second reading, zoning case Z16, 2025, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance and map of the City of Clarksville, application of F&M Bank for a zone change on property located east of Old Russellville Pike, north of Stone Container Drive, from M3 Planned Industrial District to C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District. Resolution 58, 2024-25, a resolution approving appointments to the Fire Board of Appeals, Human Relations Commission, Roxy Regional Theater Board, and Senior Center Board. Adoption of minutes, April 3rd, 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any member wish to be recognized on the consent agenda? We believe on item A, we will have an amendment that will be offered based on conversations that we've had, as well as on the resolution for board appointments. There will be an amendment to delete someone who's opted not to be reappointed to the Fire Board of Appeals, and those will be coming next week. Any other comment or question regarding the consent agenda? Before I call on Chairman Streetman, you've all heard that Lori Matta, our Chief Financial Officer, is leaving city employment as of near the end of May. She has taken a position out of state, and we certainly hated to hear that. Did our best to talk her out of it, but to no avail. And so she is in the room, and we just want to say to Lori, thank you for the outstanding work you've rendered to the city of Clarksville. Got to get my shot in where I can. I know you're not, but this is an opportunity for us to say thank you for the work you're doing and have done. So let's give her a round of applause, please. Lori. And I'll say that Finance and Revenue, I think, is the only department among maybe one or two others that David Smith hasn't served as interim. And I'm pleased to announce that Kristen Wilcox will be our interim. No, I know. Okay, we are now ready for the Finance Committee report. Chairman Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 66, 2024-25, first reading. An ordinance amending the official code of the City of Clarksville, Title 12, Streets and Other Public Ways and Places, Chapter 1 in general, Section 12-124, sidewalks, to make sidewalks mandatory for any new development along newly constructed public roads and along dedicated permanent roadway easements in all zoning districts with the exception of districts zoned M2 and M3 industrial. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval, and Mayor, if it's okay with you, I would like to allow the sponsor to address this one.
Absolutely. Councilman McLaughlin, you're the sponsor. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So during the previous effort to update the sidewalk ordinance, part of the main thing that was a gray area or left to interpretation in the code was not addressed. So at the request of some of the people that have to enforce the sidewalk ordinance, we put our heads together with the city attorney's office to reduce the room for interpretation in the gray area, specifying that under new commercial developments, that includes multifamily, because as we know, in a C2 zoning classification, you can't put R4. and also spell out what the guidelines are pertaining to the county subdivision regulations. So if you're you're doing a small infill development inside of an existing subdivision, there's a trigger point where sidewalks will be required, and that's per the existing the county subdivision regulations. So that's really the only change. It's literally a really long run-on sentence and about 4 words that has been changed. And I feel like this has been worked on so many times that we got it to a good spot with the last conversation. So that concludes my report. Okay.
Any comment or question regarding this ordinance? All right. Chairman Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 75, 2024, 25, and first reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to conduct negotiations and to enter into an agreement for the purchase of easements and/or rights-of-way, or should negotiations fail, to pursue condemnation through the use of eminent domain for the acquisition of property for a public purpose for Needmore Road Improvements Project. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval. This is the normal thing that we've done in the past when it's necessary for us to do roadway improvements. Often the street department is not only having to work with the homeowners, but also has to work with mortgage companies in order to be able to get these improvements done. A lot of times with the mortgage companies, they're national organizations, and that can just sit on their desk. This is a way to help speed that process up, especially when both the street department and the homeowner have come to an agreement.
Before we get to item B, any questions about ordinance C, item C, ordinance 75? All right, back to you, Chairman Streetman, for item B.
I've got it, thank you. No, I appreciate it. Sorry about that. Ordinance 74, 2024, 25, first reading, an ordinance transferring certain real property from the city of Clarksville, Tennessee to New Vision Renovations LLC for the purpose of a sewer pump station. This one's a little bit different than the run-of-the-mill that we usually do. Some months ago, we approved the purchase of a 10-foot by 70-foot strip of the New Vision Renovations property to allow for better access to the Ringgold Creek lift station. Inadvertently, this action left the remaining property and its intended use non-compliant with its current zoning classification. While attempting to rezone the property on behalf of the owners, the realization was found that the property remains too narrow at the building site to comply with compatible zoning classifications. Therefore, in order to restore this property back to a condition of compatible use, Gas and Water is asking the council to approve the transfer of a 5-foot by 132-foot strip of the lift station property to the owners of the New Vision Renovations property. Upon the transfer of said property, the owners can submit a minor plat to the Planning Commission and finalize their intended use of such.
Comment or question regarding ordinance 74? Chairman Streetman.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 55 of the city, resolution of the city of Clarksville, Tennessee, gas purchaser, authorizing gas purchaser to execute an amendment to its gas supply agreement with Tennessee Energy Acquisition Corporation, or TAC, in connection with the reset of the available discount in TAC's gas repayment project and related matters. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval. This is a reset or renewal of an existing agreement between the Clarksville Gas Department and the Tennessee Energy Acquisition Corporation. TAC acquires natural gas supplies and ensures deliveries to the gas department's gate station in Jolton. Prepayment agreements such as this ensure revenues for TAC, which allows them to issue revenue bonds toward the long-term purchases of large quantities of natural gas, which also enables TAC to negotiate discount rates for these large quantities. This agreement is for an additional 5-year period and guarantees the gas department a minimum of a 20-cent discount per decatherm of natural gas purchased. Through negotiations, the discount may be more, as currently we receive a 35-cent discount. Again, 20 cents is the minimum discount we will receive according to this agreement. The department plans to contract for the same volumes, which is half of the customer gas usage, allowing flexibility for other savings opportunities on the remaining half, such as through hedging.
Comment or question regarding this resolution? Chairman Streetman.
Resolution 56, 2024-25, a resolution authorizing an interlocal agreement between the City of Clarksville and Montgomery County, Tennessee for utility relocation at Charles Bell Road. And bear with me, sorry. This interlocal agreement is similar to those we have previously approved between Gas and Water and TDOT, Montgomery County, and or our own street department. This will allow Montgomery County to include gas and water utility relocation in the bid for widening Charles Bell Road and allow both parties to utilize the advantages and benefits of having one prime contractor to coordinate all facets of the overall project. The rule of thumb to these agreements is that if the utilities are located within the right-of-way, Gas and Water pays for the relocation. If the utilities are located outside of the right-of-way, Montgomery County is responsible for the purchase of new easements and utility relocation. Again, agreements such as this provide for a much smoother and therefore more timely project, and unfortunately, we can't include some of those other utilities that aren't part of us.
Who shall go nameless?
That wasn't in
Yeah,
the
I know,
explanation.
I know.
I kind of added that.
I got it. Yeah. Any comment or question regarding this resolution? Chairman Streetman.
Right, Resolution 57, 2024-25, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of electric system revenue bonds of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $47,215,000, making provision for the issuance, sale, and payment of said bonds, establishing the terms thereof, and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, providing for the collection and disposition of revenues from the electric system of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, and making provisions for the operation of said system. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval, and I don't think I stated on the others, they voted in favor of all of these items. Mayor, would it be possible if Mr. Taylor from CDE came up and did the same presentation for the council that he did during the Finance Committee?
Absolutely. Mr. Taylor? You are recognized.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Is this working now? Okay. Thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to come and kind of highlight. We are doing a bond issue, and I would like to kind of explain and talk to you a little bit why we're doing a bond issue rather than just ask for that. So, this is a really just a layout of our current substations and where our solar farms are located as well. We currently have 13 substations on our system and are running. We have two substations, the Airborne substation and the Connell Farm. One is on exit 8 and one's on Tiny Town Road. That should be online in May. And right there, this is to handle the growth of Clarksville. As we continue to grow, we're building more substations to serve the load, but also for redundancy and resiliency of our system. So what we're looking at doing, we'll probably be building 2 more substations. We'll talk about that in a second. But this is just a quick chart here that shows the growth and how quick we have been growing over the years. And you see last year we were at 83,000 customers, and currently this month we're at 86,000 customers. And just this past week, we were recognized by the American Public Power Association for, we are ranked as the 39th largest public power provider in the United States. So there's more than 2,000 local power companies across. And so as we continue to grow, we're needing to build additional infrastructure. As you can see here, though, building additional infrastructure and the growth, our power costs continue to rise. We are currently paying TVA about $140 million a year for our power. You can also see our maintenance and our growth of our distribution system continues to grow. This is the distribution, transmission, and maintenance of our system. And that last year we spent $50 million to handle the growth of our system. But also that was just coming out of our normal expenses, but then out of our capital expenses, you can see the capital expenses continue to rise as well. Building those 2 substations that we built, back in 2009, we built 2 substations. They were $5 million apiece. We built Dalton Smith substation. It was $7 million. The two substations that were just have completed are a little over $8 million. And we're looking at the next two substations will be about $10 million each. So you can see the rising cost of materials to build our system. That's a tough slide to see right there, but that is, I wanted to illustrate pre-COVID pricing and post-COVID pricing of transformers. And this is a typical order of transformers for 1 year from pre-COVID 2019 to 2023 is an $8.6 million increase. So overnight, we're spending $8.6 million more on transformers than we had done before. So that's just one thing. All of our steel poles, they continue to rise. All materials are rising. But that's one of the things that we order quite a bit of. And you can see a 50 kVA transformer in 2019, it was $1,558. In 2023, it was $8,900. We order about 300 of those a year. And so there's a rising cost of our just running our system as well. So in the past, we have been able to build substations out of revenue, out of cash, and that's no longer the case. We're going to have to get to do bond issues to cover our capital expenditures. So really want you to know why we're doing it, and then where's the money going. The money that we're doing a $30 million bond issue, and $10 million will go to, there'll be $20 million will go to two substations. And then we'll have $5 million to continue growth on our smart grid technologies, and another $5 million for system improvements. And that's building out the grid, building out our distribution system. And this is something that, just to highlight what is our smart grid, we cannot install the equipment to put smart grid entirely across our system overnight. So it's something that we allocate every year. We try to put a little bit more into that. So with our fiber system that we have, any device that we put on our distribution system must have two-way communications. And so that we can communicate it from our main office. We can open and close breakers from the SCADA room. But in building the smart grid too, this is an example. We had an outage on breaker 964 out of East Substation. And so when a tree limb hit on the line, breaker opened up, 689 customers without power. Within 9 seconds, the system automatically reduced that down to 122 customers. So before we could roll a truck or get out of the parking lot, automatically we were down from 689 to 122. So that's one of the reasons we're investing in smart grid technologies. Also, by being able to open and close breakers, open and close switches, we're able to do that from our office and not have to get out and roll the truck. So what we're doing, here's what, in a nutshell, what we're going to be doing. We're going to refund our 2015 bonds and refinance those. And then we're going to borrow, go to the bond market for $30 million. The way it works out, we're basically going for $25 million, but we'll get $30 million. And between the two, it won't exceed $47 million. By refunding the 2015 bond series, we're looking at a savings of about $1.4 million. That was looking at it at April 3rd. And, the bond market is a little volatile right now. It changes every day, and it's going to change every day until we go to the market. We're trying to get everything in place, get it approved, and try to go to the market in June. But we're not going to go into the market unless it's advantageous to us. And once we have all these approvals in place, we'll have about a year that we could look at the market before we have to actually pull the trigger. So we don't have to go June 1. We're just going to be ready to go. And when the market's right, that's what we're gonna hit. So doing the bond issue, it is going to cost us an additional $1.8 million. And so to pay for that, we're looking at we'll probably be doing about a 1% electric rate increase. And so we have a choice. We can borrow and do a bond issue and do a 1% rate increase, or we can try to play for it out of revenue and do a 17% rate increase. And so that's why we're going to the bond market. And most of our equipment's 30, 40-year lifetime. So by doing the bond issue, the people that are using the product will actually be paying for it, rather than the customers today paying for products that we use 30 years down the road. So it does make sense to go to the market as well. And that's a real quick overview of what we've got going on at CDE and why we're asking for the bond issue. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Chairman Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Taylor, for one, I think one of the questions that was asked in regard to the 1% increase that they would have, it's in relation strictly to the usage on their bill, correct?
Yes, it will be strictly on electric usage, not broadband, not internet, just strictly on the electric usage. And it'll average about between $2 and $4, depending on the usage, is what it would amount to at the customer level.
Okay, and also I want to say I love the thought of growing that smart grid, especially when you showed that example of how many people were without electricity and 9 seconds later that dropped dramatically. And having had a family member before that was on oxygen, which, you know, they had to have plugged in all the time. And when there was no power, obviously they were going to have to be relying upon backup bottles of that. So I know how important that electricity can be to many people in our community. I know there's other reasons as well, but just having had that with a family member, I know that can be almost a life or death situation if they don't have those bottles as backup. So thank you for continuing to grow that and take care of our community.
Well, thank you.
Councilman Shekinah, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Taylor,
Yes, sir.
while you're up here, and just for the benefit of the public, we talk about these rate that's going to increase 1%. Around when will the customers expect to see a 1% increase? Because it's not going to be the end of this month, I'm quite sure.
Yeah, excellent question. What we'll have to do, we'll do the study. We're going to have to get approval by our board and then approval by TVA, which is our regulator. And these would not go into effect until October.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comment or question for Mr. Taylor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Streetman. I'm sorry, I'm asleep at the switch. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item is the hotel motel tax update and report from Ms. Matta, which she will be doing next week. I will say that this is in regards to the tax that we passed last year. So if anybody, especially any of our newer council members that weren't on the council at the time, have any questions about the history of that, I would encourage you in this next week to reach out to Ms. Matta and she can go over the history and the purpose of that with you. Otherwise, that concludes my report, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Gas and Water Committee, Chairman McLaughlin, you're recognized.
I will have a report next Thursday, and that concludes my report.
Okay, concludes your report on your report. Okay. Neighborhood and Community Services, Chairman Shekinah, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a full report next week.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation Committee, Chairman Zacharias.
Thank you, Mayor. I will have a full report next week, but I would like to highlight a couple of events that we have coming up that have open registrations. The Greenway 8K is on May 3rd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And on May 13th to 16th, we've got the 50-plus games that does require registration. I just want to put that community on notice, especially the bowlers. You got 5 years to get ready, okay? But in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy not yet qualifying for the 50-plus games.
What are you trying to say? That some of us are old?
He was looking at me, I believe,
He was looking this way.
and I freely admit I qualify. Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Chairman Lovato, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll have a full report next week.
Okay, Chairman Smith is not here. She said she would have a full report next week. We're now ready for public comments. Any member of the public wish to address the council? Okay, we're now ready for council and mayor comments. Councilman McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Just quick, I've enjoyed seeing the city employees, in their purple this week on the city's Facebook page. And I know the military families in our community support or appreciate the support of Month of the Military Child. And then also a reminder that my next town hall meeting will be next Tuesday, April 29th, 5:30 PM at the Clarksville Police Precinct located at 211 Cunningham Lane. All are welcome. You do not have to live in Ward 2 to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments from the council? Councilman Peters, you're recognized.
I just want to make sure everyone's aware of Saturday motorcycle community with the safety event going on. Want to make sure that people are aware of that. If you ride a bike like I do, please attend. I think it's going to be very positive information put out, so just want to make sure everybody's aware of that on Saturday.
Where will
Follow
the
signs
event,
to look forward on.
where will the event be?
It's at Outlaw Field on Saturday.
Okay, Outlaw Field. All right, any more comment or question? All right, let me introduce Lieutenant Melissa Spielhagen, who is joining us as a member of the Clarksville Police Department and helping us here in our council meetings. Welcome, Lieutenant Spielhagen. We're glad you're here. All right, we will stand adjourned until next Thursday. Thank you.